The majority of folks will end up being better off, of course, because the website's not working right. They don't necessarily know it right. I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me. We've got to work hard to make sure that they know we hear them and that we're going to do everything we can to deal with folks who find themselves in a tough position as a consequence of this. Given that I've been burned already with a website, well, more importantly, the American people have been burned by a website that has been dysfunctional.
The president now is toxic. The thing is called Obamacare. There's no running away from it. It's got his name on it. You see the president, you think about the policy, and you know it's a disaster. And the problem for the Democrats is they are hostage to a bunch of geeks.
I love that line. And as we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show, we are joined by the man who uttered those words, not the president who uttered the words from the Chuck Todd interview. We had a little compilation of some of the best hits from that. But Charles Krauthammer is back with us, the author of a brand new bestseller. It is #1 on nonfiction on Amazon and #2 on the New York Times bestseller list. And that is Things That Matter, 3 Decades of Passions, Pastimes, and Politics, a compilation of some of the greatest columns of Charles Krauthammer. And, sir, welcome back. Great to talk to you.
Pleasure to be with you, Steve.
Well, congratulations on the success of the book. It's not surprising. It's just a great read.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. It's had quite a takeoff, and I want to keep giving it rocket fuel.
Well, we'll do all we can to put that energy behind it. Okay, so let's talk about what the president had to say yesterday. And interestingly enough, he was speaking a little while ago before we just took to the air, and he said about the website. He said, "I was going to jump in and fix it myself, but I don't write codes." Gee, I thought he did everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, he campaigned from Mount Olympus, 2008. You know, he was going to bring the country together, not black America, white America, red America, blue America, you know, the whole thing. And we saw that in 08, people swooning in the aisles. But it turned out to be he's not the Superman he said he was. And he's not even a competent governor. I mean, the thing is, apart from the fact that he's the most far-left president in at least 70 years, is the fact that he leads from behind on foreign policy, and he doesn't lead at all on domestic. For him to say, I got burned on that computer website?
Yeah.
I mean, what is he, a bystander? Has he stumbled across something called Obamacare, picked it up and said, what's this? I mean, he pretends that he's not part of the government, that he is supposedly running, supposedly shaping, and actually and quite deliberately intruding into our lives using that government. And then he pretends he's a bystander. I mean, that's really what's at root here. And the apology he offered was no apology at all. He apologized for the dislocation people are feeling. What he needs to apologize is for misleading the country into believing that the vast majority of Americans who are happy with their health care would be left alone. And it turns out that this is exactly what people like me have been arguing for 5 years. This thing is a federal takeover at every level and every way, with tens of thousands of pages of regulation of the entire healthcare system of the United States. That's 1/6 of the economy. And it is a complete disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. And you pointed out in your most recent column, Rhetoric versus Reality, appeared in the Washington Post and syndication around the country, that, what does he do during this crisis? He goes out and he campaigns like he was campaigning today somewhere in New Orleans, talking about stimulus money and rebuilding roads and bridges. Barely touched on the Obamacare fiasco until he said he would like to jump in and fix it himself. But he doesn't miss a beat. Immigration reform, stimulus, you name it. He's out there making believe that, Obamacare was a roaring success.
His cure to every ill is to campaign. Now, I tell you, campaigning is good to get elected. He's very good at that. He's historically good at that. He'll be remembered for being good at that. His problem is that once he gets into office, he does not know how to govern. I mean, this is fairly elementary at 3.5 years to put together a website. There are a lot of 12-year-olds who can put a website together in 3.5 years.
You're absolutely right.
And they can't do it. And then even worse is the policy, even if they had the website going. This idea that they had deceived the country into not understanding that everybody's going to be affected, not just these small numbers who are going to be helped.
We're talking to Charles Krauthammer, the author of the new bestseller, #2 New York Times, #1 on Amazon nonfiction, Things That Matter, 3 Decades of Passions, Pastimes, and Politics, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. One other thing on healthcare before I do want to move on, and that is Orrin Hatch and I'm trying to think of the other senator that sent a letter out demanding from the administration and from Kathleen Sebelius the number of signups by today. They're not going to get it, of course, so they took to writing some insurance companies, and D.C., Blue Cross Blue Shield of D.C. answered them and said that by the Grassley and Hatch, and said by the as of October 29th, they had 2 enrollees. Another company, unnamed, had 3, and 2 others didn't respond.
Well, we heard that there were 6 in the country on day 1.
Yep.
I mean, you can't even have a baseball team with 6. You know, that's like having the Red Sox with no outfield.
They still might have won the World Series, though.
Exactly. Well, as long as you had Poppy, DHing would be fine. But, I mean, this is almost a parody. 1 or 2, I think there were 2 in Delaware. These are United States states, and they're trying to run a federal system to revolutionize everybody's health care. And all I know, they got a member here and a member there, a sign up here and there. But there are hundreds of thousands of people who are getting cancellations. So the entire program was designed to get insurance for people who don't have insurance. The number of those you can count on one hand. The number who are losing insurance is hundreds and thousands of times that much. It's completely reversing the objective of Obamacare. And you can't escape this with campaigning, can't escape this with rhetoric. I write in the book about Obama and the ideas that he's brought into office, these pretty far left ideas that are based on the assumption that government's role is to come in there and to regulate our lives and to level between the classes and to redistribute wealth. That's what Obamacare is about. And this is the real test for this kind of administration. Not only is it something Americans don't really want, but it's something that the left can't even run.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on, Charles, if we can, to the elections that took place. Chris Christie's landslide victory and the close defeat of Ken Cuccinelli.
Yeah.
I know you. I agree with you that Obamacare, nearly got Cuccinelli in, and it was a referendum on Obamacare. But let's talk about Christie for a second. There's a piece today at the Philadelphia Daily News talking about how they go down mayor by mayor, Democratic mayor by mayor of New Jersey, and how Christie met with them. One, an African-American mayor, gave his city $200,000, gave another city a $2 million promise, did the same with union leaders. He just basically, they're claiming, almost bought off these people and bought the election, or that wide margin. And Mary Buono, the Democratic candidate, afterwards said she was extremely disappointed. Actually, she said that she suffered betrayal from her own party. So I'm just wondering if you think that this victory of Chris Christie resonates for 2016.
Well, I mean, I think what he's done is sort of traditional for governors. I think he is by far and away the front runner right now. People say he can't win the nomination. I don't believe that. I think if you had to put your money in Vegas, the best money, the shortest odds would be on Christie winning the nomination. Now, I know he's going to have trouble in Iowa. He's going to have trouble in other places. But I don't think the Republicans want to commit Harry Carey. I think if they have a candidate, this is why I think he'll be in front. I don't necessarily think he's going to win. But they've lost twice. People who say they lost because they were moderates, I don't think that's the right reason. I mean, they lost for a variety of reasons. But Christie is not a liberal. He's pro-life. He's unequivocally pro-life. He's against gay marriage, which is a pretty conservative position right now, given how the country is changing. Many sort of people, middle-of-the-road, center-right, are shifting on that. So, I mean, this is not a man who came out of left field. There are areas where conservatives will disagree with him. But I think if you find a guy who wins by 22 points in a deeply, deeply Democratic state, you got to take a look at him because, whatever you think about moderation among some conservatives, it sure beats having a Democrat, an Obama or a Clinton in the White House.
So he's the best bet right now, but not a sure thing.
No, but I think, if you had to do odds,
Right.
he'd be the front runner.
All right, now let me. I want you to hear something, and this is from another network. Of course, you're a regular on Fox with Brett Baer every night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. But Chris Cuomo was talking to Will Cain he's on the right on his morning show on CNN, and he basically poo-pooed the whole Benghazi and the whole Republican attempt to get to the bottom of Benghazi this way. Here's cut 26.
When you ascribe doubt and negativity to the prospect of what was happening in Benghazi, that's where it starts to get to be a distortion. And then you start to get pushback from the other side because they don't like where you're going with the questions. It's not just what happened, it's you screwed up and you know it. You screwed up and you know it. That's not fair. You have a negative mythology to what happened in Benghazi that is not supported by fact, it's supported by speculation.
Okay, I mean, is that did he write that for the White House, or did the White House write that for him?
Now, who were we listening to?
Chris Cuomo talking to Will Cain on CNN.
Well, yeah, he's got that Cuomo twang. I couldn't figure out which generation. But I did, and I'm thinking, no, the dad's not on TV. No, I mean, this is obvious. Look, the idea that the media are in any way neutral, you start with, the tradition going all the way back of Democratic operatives ending up in high positions in the media is sort of so well known it's almost not worth repeating. I mean, this is a guy who's talking, I don't know whether it's talking points or, whether he believes all this or not. All I know is that these are Democratic talking points, and Benghazi is truly a scandal, and to sort of wave it away as speculation. There's no speculation of the fact that everybody who survived the attack was evacuated to Germany within 2 days, debriefed by the FBI, and that those interrogations have not been shown to the Congress, and that these witnesses who were there, who know what happened, who saw with their own eyes, have not been allowed to talk to Congress. So that's not speculation, that's fact. And then you got to ask yourself why. Well, we'll find out when these people talk and when these transcripts finally get released. But if you're the most transparent administration in American history, as we hear from the Obama team, well, then you ought to be releasing this information.
Charles, I got to tell you, to me, your book is so compelling, but I just love the autobiographical portion of it, and I think people are really they're in for a treat, a revealing treat when they read that part of your book.
Well, I was hoping that would be the case because, as you know, I generally don't write about myself, and I do have an introduction which is new. 5,000 words long, I believe, and it is about my development and my career and my history for those people who might be interested. So it is a part of the book that you won't find elsewhere. And some of the columns are chosen for what they say about my past.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, Charles, I look forward to speaking to you again, and next time we talk, you'll be #1 on both the New York Times, where you're #2, and staying atop the nonfiction category on Amazon, where you're currently #1. Thank you so much, sir.
It's a great pleasure.
Take care.
Thank
Charles
you,
Krauthammer, ladies and gentlemen. The book is Things That Matter, 3 Decades of Passions, Pastimes, and Politics. Just a great read.